What do we got here?
Well, we're starting with false idols.
Oh
Florida
yeah, the
pastors
golden
are.
calf. That's I mean, yeah, he is a cow, so we'll go with golden calf. That's fine.
So I I saw a picture of this statue right next to the Saddam Hussein statue that got torn down, and they
Yeah.
looked very similar. So I tried to find that picture of like them right next to each other, and but the one that came up was this one. With so apparently he's got a sign right next to him pointing to the blue monster hole.
Okay.
So Donald Trump is the blue monster hole.
I mean, he is a blue monster when he's dressed in blue, but
Yeah.
sure, why not? The blue monster's whole. Man, it's really weird. Anybody who did this, if they were a different person entirely, would have been seen as one of the most vain pieces of shit. They would have instantly been called out as somebody who is not worth the American taxpayer dollars and should have been knocked out of office. Like, just going, I want you to erect a statue of me. That's a thing despots do. That's not a thing that, like, general American presidents request. That's a thing that people who are desperate to cling to power and are super insecure do, actually.
Olivia Williams wants to know if we've seen that Greg Locke admitted to lying. I have not, but knowing Greg Locke, it's going to be one of those admissions that's not really an admission.
Yeah, he's... So, man, Greg, I haven't thought about him in a bit. Years ago, when he was going through his divorce, I reached out to him in order to, like, try to give my condolences, because I didn't have the information on the divorce that we do now, where it's actually because he cheated with his secretary and actually almost drove his wife to commit suicide. I didn't have all that information at the time. So just thinking about him again and just like, oh, cool, that was a weird taste in my mouth that I'd like to get out again. Ugh.
Yeah. No, Greg Locke is not fun.
No, he's a piece of shit. Do you remember when he broke a Dunkin' Donuts door during COVID because they told him to wear a mask and it made him really, really uber mad?
I don't remember him breaking a door, but I do know that his Dunkin' Donuts order is some ridiculous thing like a coffee with 9 creams and 9 sugars or something like that.
Yeah. I
So
don't
it's
know
like,
about his
man,
order.
you don't like coffee at that point, man. Just find some caffeinated beverage that actually tastes good and drink that instead. You don't like coffee if you're doing that to it. And I say this as someone who does not like coffee. It is okay to not like coffee.
I generally am not a big coffee person, but I do like fraps, and I mean, a frap is functionally just a coffee smoothie.
I find the flavor of coffee ruins whatever it's in. So like coffee chocolates or whatever is like, no, the coffee flavor has ruined the chocolate flavor. And it's like, it's not that, like, I don't have the same aversion to coffee as I do with mint. I can drink coffee. I can eat coffee flavored things. I just don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. I don't know how anybody thinks anything coffee is good.
I like the coffee flavor. Like, get coffee flavored ice cream is great. Chocolate covered coffee beans, those are also really good.
No, they just ruin the chocolate.
Nah, like we have different opinions on this one.
Yes, we do.
Like how YouTube and
Greg,
Twitch have different opinions over what's allowable on their platforms.
Bragwen for $2 says they worshiping a golden calf playing pocket pool. Yeah, chat's moving too fast for me to take it off. Yeah. So yeah, they built a golden statue to Trump. They've named it the Blue Monster Hole.
Hip hip hooray!
But several religious leaders are likening this to idolatry and a violation of biblical prohibition against worshiping false idols. I wonder why.
It is idolatry, like in
Literally.
every possible way.
Like this is what Romans 1 that the apologists like to pull out to be like, you really do believe in God deep down. This is actually what Romans 1 is about. It's about worshiping false idols. It doesn't even say worshiping them, it's just having false idols.
You know what's really funny to me? So you don't watch The Boys, correct? Like I think we had this conversation last time. So the entire season of The Boys right now is Homelander's like takeover of the world functionally from a standpoint of Christian nationalism, and they started selling him as God's modern day prophet, Jesus's number one man, and like he accepts that at first for a little bit, and then he starts to reject it because he goes, nope, there's no man in the sky, there's just me. Like he starts getting a full-on God complex going, it's not good enough that you guys are worshiping me as God's prophet. You need to start worshiping me as God, because that's what I am. Fuck all of you, and I'll kill you if you don't.
Well, if I could take a moment to quote the Bible on our very atheist-themed stream.
Sure.
Romans 1:22 through 23. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal human beings,
Weird.
and birds and animals and reptiles.
That's so weird. That sounds
like exactly what they fucking did.
Exactly. That looks really weird and kind of like what's going on. I wonder why.
Yeah. So apparently the statue, they say it's worth $450,000.
Oh, the fuck, it's not.
Like, if you melt down the materials and that's what the raw materials cost, then I will agree with that assessment.
But they dropped the price of the statue down by putting Trump's face on it.
Yeah. Like, I would pay less for that.
I consider that equivalent to defacing currency.
Yeah, like if you melted it down, just gave me the raw materials, I would be much happier with that than with a statue of Trump.
Correct. Like, dude's a piece of shit.
Apparently it depicts him in a gesture similar to the moment after he survived the assassination attempt at a 2024 campaign rally. It just so happens that it looks like every other fucking dictator statue standing there with their arm in the air.
Yeah.
Like Kim Il-sung, I think, has one.
It just so happens that
I think it was Derek Guy, the fashion guy who also criticizes the right-wing stuff very heavily. He compared a photo of the Trump statue to it was either Kim Il-sung or Kim Il-jong, and he was like, "Oh, well, you know, it's kind of sad that the clothes are just hanging better on Kim Il-sung." Whichever Kim, like even in statue form where they have made him look as good as possible, like they've clearly trimmed some weight off of him. Even in that statue form, he's still not dressed well.
It's depressing. It's depressing knowing that this is the guy leading us, because, like, somehow his charisma score is high enough that he is able to sway the populace with all of whatever the fuck this is going on.
Yeah, I don't
get it.
I have never seen him as charismatic. Like, even like in 2016, I was not right wing, but I had right leanings. I was closer to the enlightened centrists of today. Yeah. And even then, I was just like, what do people see in this man? Like, I have never understood that.
The thing is, it's because it sounds like he's the everyman. Like, I think that's what it really boils down to for a lot of people, is that he is
doesn't. If people around me talked like that, I would find new people to be around me.
Right. But you're not a construction worker. Like, just throwing it out there, you're not a construction worker. You're not somebody who, like, the job that you had prior to doing YouTube full time was waiting at an upscale restaurant. People at the I don't want to say lower echelons of intelligence because that's super insulting, but it's also kind of accurate.
It's okay. My former neighbor, who was the asshole that we had to call the police on multiple times, is a construction worker, so you can go ahead and say that.
The thing is, I have friends who are construction workers.
I know people that work construction that are not anywhere close to as bad as that guy either. So,
but generally speaking, when you get people who work in construction, or a lot of blue collar workers, you get a lot of people who feel politically disenfranchised and spend most of their time working and less of their time researching. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. If you're working to put food on your table, food on the table of your family, that's what you're going to do. But when you hear any politician sounding like Bill Clinton, Obama, Bush, Biden, they all sound very, very similar. I know that they have various levels of eloquency, Bush being at the bottom rung and Obama being at the top rung there, but they do still sound very similar. Their vernaculars are very similar. And when you are raised on a steady diet of don't trust any politician ever, which isn't exactly a bad position to have, all things considered, like that's a very safe position to have. But when you're raised in that environment, somebody like Trump coming around and sounding completely different to all of them, it scratches a part of the brain for people in that position. He seems like a man of the people to them. Now, the problem is that they're very bad at identifying what a man of the people looks like. They are incredibly bad at identifying what that is.
We also haven't had a president that's been a man of the people for a very long time, if ever.
Yeah, the closest we have had in that regard has probably been Biden because of the work he did with unions.
I was going to say FDR.
I mean, since I've been alive.
Okay, yeah. If we're going living memory, I'd say
if we're going like historically, then sure, FDR because of the Green New Deal, right? Yeah. Like absolutely, like the New Deal policies, sure, why not? But in recent memory, I can only think Biden because of the amount of work he did with the unions. That's it. And even then, he's still a bought and paid for Democrat like many others.
I used to be libertarian when I saw people. I'm trying to read my super chats, sir.
I had already stopped. That's a ULAG problem.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I've just been trying to get to this one for a little while, and I forget if I don't get to them. Love you, sir. Okay, Livy Williams says, I used to be a libertarian. When I saw people I admired support him, it's when I left the right. He was too obviously an idiot and a fascist. I also used to be a libertarian.
That's another thing, though. People are very bad at identifying what a fascist is. So, for giggles, I started going onto Reddit to look into what a lot of people thought fascism was. And when you get into, like, the more ivory tower subreddits where people are very, very, like, hoity-toity based on whatever research they've done or they're lying, it's Reddit. There's probably a bunch of people lying about their backgrounds on there, too. You get a lot of people who really have a fuck ton of disdain for Umberto Eco. But when I'm identifying what a fascist is, I almost always use Umberto Eco's essay as a set of guideposts for this is what a fascist generally looks like. And every single critique that I see on a place like Reddit is either he had no idea what he's talking about or he's talking too much in broad strokes. I'm like, but that's kind of what fascism is.
The broad strokes.
Like fascism, by its definition, operates in broad strokes so that it is hard to identify. Fascism isn't just what Benito Mussolini made, just like Nazism isn't just what Hitler made. They've become ideologies after the death of the author, so to speak. And people are very, very bad at having any amount of guideposts for how and when they use those terms. Because American education doesn't do a good job of teaching you that. And granted, I had a private school education on this, so maybe it was a little bit different, but when I was growing up, when we were learning about government, the information that we got was there's different kinds of government, there's republic, there's democracy, there's oligarchy, and then they would like kind of vaguely point to different countries in history that kind of had those political systems, and then that was about the extent of it until I got into an elections class when I moved to a magnet school, and started studying like United States politics a lot more. But our education system, when it comes to just basic terminology, is really, really lacking. We don't teach people how to identify what fascism is. We don't teach people what the bones of Nazi ideology is. We teach them that the Holocaust happened, it was bad, this is the amount of people that died, and this is when America stepped in to stop them. We don't learn about the American brown shirts movement. We don't learn about the American eugenics movement that was used as the bones for the Nazis' eugenics movement. We don't learn any of that. That's not part and parcel of what we do.
Proud Boys?
Those are the modern day equivalents, but yes.
So as I've mentioned before, I listened to a podcast called The No Rogan Experience, and they just covered an episode where Andy Ngo was on just before Trump lost the 2020 election. Mm-hmm. And it's actually really funny in a dark sort of way to hear the predictions that they're making about what Biden's going to do if he wins and how, Antifa is not going to accept the results of the election, so they'll storm the Capitol and at one point, so Andy Ngo is a wiggly little guy.
He's a piece of shit.
He is. He's a wiggly little guy who can't be pinned down on anything. And at one point,
stop.
I say that so many times every day in my life. But at one point, Joe asks him, like, what is the definition of fascism? And then, but Andy didn't have a definition ready to go. And like, it is a hard thing to define, especially on the fly like that. So like, I get it. But eventually Joe just like stopped him from flubbing, and he was like, Jamie, Google it. What's the definition of fascism? And he like read it on Google. And it's hilarious because as oversimplified as the Google definition is, it was still like, it would still apply to what Trump has been doing and even what he did in his first term.
Well, and the definition that Google has, at the very least, points out that it's a right-wing ideology. Like, of all of the issues with definitions you can pull just, like, straight up out of the internet, the Google one specifically says it is a right-wing authoritarian ideology.
Yeah, I think it did in that one as well, because remember, that was, like, back in 2020. Mm-hmm. Or 2019, something like that. I don't know. But yeah, no, it was really interesting hearing them talk about what they thought Antifa would do if Joe Biden didn't win the election. And then it turns out that Joe Biden did win, and Trump supporters all did the things that they were worried Antifa was going to do.
Oh, because it's projection.
And wasn't Andy Ngo there as well?
Andy at January 6th, I believe.
Jan 6th? Yeah, so there you go.
I'm like fairly certain that's the case, but it's kind of depressing. It's kind of depressing because it's like, on the one hand, when I think of people like Andy Ngo, I think of agitators that know exactly what the fuck they're doing. Like, you cannot convince me that Andy has no idea what he's doing when he's a political piece of shit. You can't. But when I think of like your average everyday Republicans, I think of people who honestly don't know better and are duped. And they don't know better because of people like Joe Rogan.
It's funny because like so this was he went on Joe Rogan shortly after he got beaten up. Mm-hmm. And when you listen to his description of his injuries, he's talking about all the severe lacerations and contusions that he had, and he's using all these medical terms. Like, lacerations and contusions are the medical words for cuts and bruises. It's like, if you come out and say, I got a bunch of cuts and bruises, that doesn't really...
It sounds a lot less important.
Yeah, but then when they were talking about a trans person who got assaulted, suddenly it wasn't lacerations and contusions, it was cuts and bruises. Mm-hmm. So it's like, the framing there seems a little off.
Oh, and it always will be. They're not honest people. They're not.
No.
And that's the thing that bothers me so much, though, is that, like I said, when I'm thinking of somebody like Andy or like Milo Indianapolis or the Quartering, now that he's quitting the internet technically for a little bit, like, when I'm thinking of any of those people, I am thinking of a person who knows exactly what the fuck they're doing, and if anything untoward happens to them, it's usually something that they brought on themselves. Like, they're actively causing problems, and therefore people are going to react a certain way. But then I think of, like, basic Republican voters who see that, and they don't see those people that way. So as far as they're concerned, it's either their heroes or people that they are soon going to view as heroes getting hurt when they ought not be, and it's frustrating trying to think of this from their side, because there's always that dividend between, here's a person who's duped, who's watching Joe Rogan Experience, and here's somebody who's making money by being on Joe Rogan Experience. And then you have to also remember that, like, people like Bernie Sanders have been on Joe Rogan Experience, and that gives people who are watching it this veneer that, hey, actually, no, it's a completely fair and balanced show. What are you talking about?
Well, one of the things that the No Rogan Experience guys have noticed is that, especially in recent years, like, it's always kind of been the case, but in recent years particularly, his pool of guests seems to be drawn exclusively from people that he heard on other podcasts like Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens or the late Charlie Kirk. Mm-hmm. And so, like, he is almost exclusively now picking his guests from the guest pools of these other right-wing podcasts. So, but he still tries to pretend that he's an enlightened centrist who can, I see problems with both sides.
It's like, yeah, can you articulate those problems? Because you don't get to do the both sides thing if you're not willing to say what the two sides are doing.
He also like, he will criticize certain things about the right. Like, he was mildly critical of ICE agents wearing masks, but he would always couch it in terms of, but they gotta to protect themselves against doxing. But yeah, I get that it sucks because now anyone can impersonate them.
But then you consider the fact that police have to be able to be identified unless they're like going undercover. Like if you ask a police officer who's in uniform what their badge number is, they give you their badge number usually. And the fact that
that's why before you buy drugs, you always say, "Are you a cop?" You have to tell me.
No, and that's not actually true. But
when you're soliciting prostitution, if you bring a camera and say that it's for pornography, that always works.
But it's weird knowing that we have this like delineation between those standards. We're supposed to treat ICE like the police. We're supposed to treat them with the same legitimacy as the police. But if we treated them with that same legitimacy as the police, there's a lot of standards they would have to start abiding by that they fucking don't.
Yeah. I don't appreciate that you ignored my prostitute.
There's so many jokes I could make about that right now, and I'm just not going to.
Yeah, I know, because you're ignoring my prostitute. Okay.
You're destitute.
Yeah. Patreon.com/ViceRhino?
Jesus Christ.
Okay, so Burns, the guy who cut the ribbon at the Trump statue unveiling or whatever, he tried to defend himself saying it's not a golden calf. It's a powerful symbol of resilience, freedom, patriotism, courage, and the will to keep fighting for America.
That looks like a...
golden idol?
Yeah, like it's not a golden calf. It's just a golden calf.
Well, as senior pastor of the Coral Gables Congregational United Church of Christ said, can churches just shorten their names?
No, churches need to be named the same way as bad isekais.
Okay. When we build a towering golden image of an elected official, we are no longer just thanking God, we are visually exalting a human being in a way that blurs the line between rightful gratitude and idolatrous devotion.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I don't think God exists, so he does not need to be thanked. But if you are going to thank God, building a statue of a man who is not God is not how you would do that.
It seems like a pretty poor way of doing it, honestly.
Be like, if my kids... It would be like, I went to Walmart on Mother's Day, and as I was walking, in one of their prominent displays in the middle of the aisle, that like this wasn't just with all the other shit that this would have fit in category-wise. It was the prominent Notice Me Now display. Mm-hmm. On Mother's Day was a display of Father's Day cards.
Okay, that seems like the wrong message. Yes,
so this would be like that. This is like, like, we appreciate Mom and everything she does, and we know that she's always overlooked, and it's actually really easy being seen as a good dad. All I have to do is take my kids to the playground, and everybody looks at me and is like, oh, what a good father. And like, I could forget everything. I could not have water for them at the playground, and everybody would still be like, what a good father. But if she's there with the kids and she doesn't have that water, then everybody's judging her. And so they have this one day of appreciation for mothers. It's on Mother's Day. And on that day, the store has a display in appreciation of fathers. Oh, that's Yay. What this is. That's what this is. This is the Father's Day card on Mother's Day of idolatry. Weird analogy, but whatever. I think
it kind of works in your brain.
And particularly a man known for breaking most of his commandments over and over again. Yeah.
Man, I want to have sympathy for the people who were duped, but there is a line.
Also, to be fair, only 3 of the 10 commandments are good. Like the don't kill, don't steal, don't cheat, don't have adultery. Are those? Wait, what?
Are those the good ones? I thought not boiling a calf in its mother's milk was a good one. Personally,
that's the final copy that Christians ignore. We gotta go with the rough draft.
Gotta go with the rough draft that they love.
Yeah, the rough draft is the one that is the official. Oh, now you're making me look up the list of 10
I'm
commandments.
not making you look them up. You're the one this is your ADHD tangent, not mine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but this wasn't you, this was the royal you.
Uh-huh, I understand.
It's Olivia's fault.
This is a you in a way that doesn't have any actual, like, bearing on reality. That's my favorite you.
Sure, why not?
Wabafet.
Bible info. So, no other gods before me, that's not a good one. Make no idols, that's not a good one, because who fucking cares? I mean, he's ignoring it, but... don't say Jesus Christ as a swear word. Keep the Sabbath day holy. Honor your father or mother. So that's one that can be good, but also there is very good reason to not universalize it.
Yeah,
Some parents don't deserve it.
honor your father and mother, except when your father and mother are beating you. Maybe don't do it then.
Yeah, no, I was right. Don't murder. Don't steal. Don't bear false witness. Now that one is commonly interpreted as don't lie.
It's don't bear false witness against your neighbor. It's about a court of law.
Yeah, so in a court of law, don't bear false witness. Okay, that one's fine. So we'll say there's 4. So don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't bear false witness. There are 4 that are good. Only 2 of which should actually... No, 3. Only 3 of those 4 should actually be laws. Don't covet, I find really, really amusing because the whole system of capitalism is based on
most
coveting.
of war also based on coveting?
Yeah, they want the fucking oil.
Oh, like you wanted the resources that didn't belong to you, so you did a war.
Yeah.
Now the resources belong to you because you did a war.
That is coveting and stealing. Actually, yeah, there you go. If you could simplify this, take out do not steal because do not covet kind of covers that. If you're not coveting the thing that other people have, you're not going to steal it because you don't want it. But also, I've never understood. So first off, covetousness is what drives capitalism. It is like wanting shit that you don't have and that other people do have is the whole point of capitalism. And the people that want to pin the 10 commandments up in classrooms everywhere are the ones who...
They're the capitalists.
...are the most ardent capitalists. Dark Falcon says George Carlin broke them down to 2 commandments. Yeah, that sounds like something he'd do. I don't recall that particular bit. What was I saying? Oh yeah, covetousness. But then also there's the aspect of Christianity where... I forget the biblical references because like what's in the Bible versus what pastors have said is indicated by the Bible kind of blur in my head sometimes. But there's this idea in a lot of churches of like heavenly rewards. This is the Jesus thing of like build up treasures in heaven where moth does not eat and rust does not whatever the fuck, as opposed to building up treasures on earth. They always leave out the don't build up treasures on earth part. But what is the point in having heavenly treasures? Is heaven like, am I going to like, if you're a Christian, you go to heaven and someone was a better Christian than you, so they have more heavenly treasures. What is the benefit of having more heavenly treasures if you're not able to sin and it's a sin to want things?
Like you're already immortal. Like you've already won.
I live in paradise. I'm immortal. There's no more pain, no more death, no more suffering. Oh, but he's got a better mansion in heaven than I do.
You shouldn't be coveting that.
Oh,
nope.
That's a sin.
Stop.
Okay, down the hell with you. But then what's the point in storing up treasures in heaven where you're not going to want them anyway?
Oh, is sin. Don't do it. Don't you dare. Yeah. That would be doing a bad.
So that's my philosophical pontification for the night. I say that as if there's only going to be one.
10 Commandments Bad. Brought to you by Vice Rhino.
Well, at least 6 of the 10 Commandments bad.
More information and insights available at noon.
Anyway, that's basically it for this one. It's just funny. He's making statues of himself again.
Is it funny or is it terrifying?
If I don't laugh at it, I'm going to cry.
You know, that is a very fair and valid point.
Okay. So where'd it go?
Sidebar, if Vice Rhino cries, would anybody here find it funny?
If you'll excuse me, I have to use the washroom.
Okay. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitt, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Autumn and Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.